What's up, everybody? Got another edition of Bias News, and let me ask something right from the start. How far would you go to get rid of somebody you didn't like? Just the question, putting that out there, would you be rude to somebody? Would you ignore somebody? Would you tell them not to come back to your house? You can't be here no more. Well, what if it was a coworker or, let's say, a manager? Would you go to the point of making up false allegations against them to get them fired? So here we go. This is from the Associated Press. Lawsuit contends Constitution's insurrection clause bars Trump from running again for president. Oh, Lord, here we go. A liberal group on Wednesday filed a lawsuit to bar former President Donald Trump from the primary ballot in Colorado, arguing he is ineligible to run for the White House again under a rarely used clause in the U.S. Constitution aimed at candidates who have supported an insurrection. Now, that right there from the start assumes he's guilty of supporting an insurrection, right? They're just making up an assumption here. But there's some more false news coming up. The lawsuit, citing the 14th Amendment, is the likely initial step in a legal challenge that seems destined for the U.S. Supreme Court. The complaint was filed on behalf of 6 Republican and unaffiliated Colorado voters by the group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. It will jolt an already unsettled 2024 primary campaign that features the leading Republican candidate facing 4 separate criminal cases. And, as we've stated before, I believe all these cases are politicized and they're all BS. He's not guilty of any of these. Like I said, the only one that holds water for me is the documents case. He should have gave the documents back. I understand he wanted to keep them. He may have had right to keep them, but Joe Biden's government didn't think so, and they ultimately had the power to go in there and raid his house. That will all be displayed at court. But these other allegations, to me, are BS. Let's keep going. Liberal groups have demanded that states' top election officials bar Trump under the clause that prohibits those who engage in an insurrection or rebellion against the Constitution from holding higher office. None has taken that step, looking for guidance from the courts on how to interpret a clause that has only been used a handful of times since the 1860s. While a few fringe figures have filed thinly written lawsuits in a few states citing the clause, the litigation Wednesday was the first filed by an organization with significant legal resources. It may lead to similar challenges in other states, holding out the potential for conflicting rulings that would require the Supreme Court to settle. Colorado's Secretary of State, Democrat Jenna Griswold, said in a statement that she hoped this case will provide guidance to election officials on Trump's eligibility as a candidate for office. The lawsuit contends the case is clear, given the attempt by the president to overturn the 2020 election loss to Democrat Joe Biden and his support for the assault on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. The Republican has said he did nothing wrong in his actions, and that right there, what they said, is fake news. The attempt by President Trump to overturn the 2020 election loss. No, there was no attempt to overturn it. That's where their fake news is coming in. Okay? He was attempting to clear up some election fraud. He believed there was widespread fraud. That was yet unproven by that point. And then they said his support for the assault on the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. That's even more fake news because, as we all know, we've all seen the videos. He clearly said, let's be peaceful, let's protest, let's go over there, make our voices heard peacefully and patriotically. And then after they broke into the Capitol, he even told them, made a whole video, be peaceful, go home. We're the party of law and order. We don't want none of this. But they still run with his support of the assault on the U.S. Capitol bullshit. This insurrection crap. It's all ridiculous, and it really pisses me off. You know, I'm not the biggest Trump supporter, but given the choice between Joe Biden and Donald Trump, I'm Donald Trump all freaking day long because he was way better than Joe. Joe's not even all there. I said that on the last video. Joe should be in a nursing home somewhere. While Trump, he's still sharp. He's still got it. He's still there. He's still capable of running this country. And I believe he would do a pretty good job. He's a very divisive figure. A lot of people hate him. Hate him or not, he was a good president. He did a lot of good things for this country. He had the best foreign policy that I've seen. Crazy. These people are just nuts. Let's keep going. The 14th Amendment, ratified in 1868, helped ensure civil rights for freed slaves and eventually for all people in the United States. But it also was used to prevent former Confederate officials from becoming members of Congress after the Civil War and taking over the government against which they had just rebelled. The clause cited in the lawsuit allows Congress to lift the ban, which it did in 1872, as the political will to continue to bar the former Confederates dwindled. The provision was almost never used after all that. Crew and law professors both parties contend the amendment is clear and is qualification for the president, just as the Constitution's mandate that a candidate for the White House must be at least 35 years old and a natural-born citizen. But others note there is much unsettled about the provision and that a case involved this issue has not reached the justices in Washington. The clause cites a wide range of offices under the United States and the states that the proviso applies to, including presidential electors, but not the presidency itself. So, in other words, that clause doesn't apply to the president, clearly, but they're still trying to use it to get Trump out of there. Now, this isn't the first one. They had a failed attempt in New Hampshire. There's other attempts, I believe, in Wisconsin and in Florida. But that's a whole nother news article. We can get about that later. Let's keep going with this. There's a debate among some experts about whether Trump's acts constitute insurrection under the language of the amendment. In its complaint, Crew asked the court to expedite the matter so it can be resolved before the state's primary ballot is set on January 5th, 2024. We understand that there's great interest in the states across this country about this question, and it needs to be resolved expeditiously. So there's clarity, said Donald Schuman, Crew's chief counsel told reporters in a teleconference. A Trump spokesman did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the suit. Georgia's Secretary of State, writing in the Wall Street Journal, warned, using the 14th Amendment in this way could take the country down a dark path. For a Secretary of State to remove a candidate would only reinforce the grievances of those who see the system as rigged and corrupt, said Republican Brad Raffensperger, who drew Trump's ire when he refused to declare Trump as the winner of Georgia in 2020. Denying voters the opportunity to choose is fundamentally un-American. The 14th Amendment was used last year to bar from office a New Mexico County Commissioner who entered the U.S. Capitol on January 6th. That was the first time it was used in 100 years. In 1919, Congress refused to seat a socialist, contending he gave aid and comfort to the country's enemies during World War I. Another liberal group, Free Speech for People, unsuccessfully tried to use the provision to prevent Republican Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia and Madison Cawthorn of North Carolina from running for re-election last year. This is all just simply nuts to me. They are trying everything they possibly can to get Trump off the ballot because they know he's going to win. There's a really good chance he's going to win. Given all the never Trumpers out there, all the DeSantis people, I believe if it comes down to Donald Trump and Joe Biden, Trump is going to win. There's no question to me. We've had enough of Biden. Biden has screwed up time and time again. Everything he's put his hands on has been a farce or an unholy wreck. And I don't think anybody paying any kind of attention at all could honestly say Joe Biden did a good job and would vote for him again. Anybody who's going to vote for Joe Biden is going to vote against Trump again, which that's why he lost in 2020. Or they're just not going to know how bad of a president Joe Biden was. It's simple as that, in my opinion. Now, Trump is not my first pick. I ain't going to lie. I was a big fan of Trump from 2016 to 2020. I voted for him in 2020. But after all that crap, after January 6th, everything that happened, man, it's like he's too divisive. There's too many people that hate his freaking guts. But one thing I've learned since then is we can't give up any ground whatsoever to these people, because what they're doing now is completely evil, and I don't know how we're going to stop it except for getting Trump into office so he can get in there and clean a lot of these people out. We have a lot of corruption. We've let corruption slip in unknowingly, and we have got to get it out of there somehow. This Biden administration is proving that this government is so corrupt. It is just nuts what's going on. And I implore everybody that watches this video, vote for Vivek Ramaswamy for the primary. I would much rather Vivek than Trump. But if Trump gets it, which he probably will, let's be honest, we got to vote for Trump, y'all. So that's all I got on this one. Whatever you do, stay positive. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, which you probably are, because YouTube is fucking me over pretty much right now. They're not putting my videos in a regular rotation. I'm not getting any kind of views at all. When I'd put a video out and I'd get 4,000 or 5,000 views, within a day or two. Now I'm getting 20 views per week, if that. So thanks everybody that is subscribed and that does watch this video. I really do appreciate it. You're keeping the channel afloat. And have a good one. Peace.